Except that, like, ultimately, I mean, the thing is we know because he drops. I love when he drops the badge in the dirt and just walks away with her.
Yeah.
At the end, I loved it. Welcome back, everybody. We are. It's good to see you all. It's been a couple weeks for us since we recorded, although we've had a regular release schedule. Before we get into today's
We've missed
episode,
each other, guys.
I wanted to talk to you guys all about the new Mario Galaxy movie. So Logan really wanted to. My son Logan, who you may remember, wanted to see the movie, and so we went and saw it last night. Got a little fun April Fools. We told him we were going to buy stuff for dinner, and pulled up to AMC, and he goes, "This doesn't look like a grocery store." So
What a
fun little April
smart butt.
Fools. And yeah, so we went and saw it, and I will say, if you liked the first one, I think this one's better. I apparently am not in the majority on that from what I saw on Letterboxd, but um, one of the things that I didn't love about the first one. So Alex was asking me before we started recording if you needed to know a lot about Mario. It's helpful, but one of my problems with the first movie, was it felt like they threw every single Mario reference in, and I get like, oh, we don't know if we're going to get another shot at this because look at how well the 1990s Mario movie did, but it was like
Yeah.
Mario Kart should be its own movie, and like Luigi's Haunted Mansion, like all these, there's so many offshoots that you could have be their own thing. To throw it all in felt really insane on the first one. Like it just felt like you're not leaving much for sequels.
Was it was it like pandering fan service or just we're trying to get everything in one spot?
In the first one, it was a little bit of
Which of those did
both.
you feel? Okay.
In the first one, it was a little bit of both. This one, I thought, worked a lot better on that. So like,
Okay.
you may not be familiar with the lore, but you're familiar with gameplay of Mario.
Oh, yeah, I'm hugely
Yeah.
familiar with that part. It's just the idea that in a film, like game
Yeah.
cutscenes or in-game lore or flavor text, like that I have no issue understanding.
Yeah.
It's do I have enough understanding of the content to sit down for an
Yeah.
hour and a half,
Absolutely. My big problem with the first one, and they don't do this nearly as much in this one, is that like some of the elements of the original Mario games don't make a ton of sense in the like by showing them in like game mechanics, showing the game mechanics literally translated instead of like, when we see Mario in the original 1985 Mario game, it's 2D, he's running and jumping onto bricks and stuff, and like it works in that game because that's what we had in 1985. There are parts of the first movie where it's like, okay, there's a strip of bricks and he's running and he's doing like, and I'm like, this doesn't make sense for this movie, really. Like I'm okay with you not literally adapting all mechanics into the game, into the movie.
Yeah.
The second movie does that better. There are little bits and pieces where the game mechanics are kind of addressed, but they're very short montage at the beginning, and then at the end, towards the end or the third act, there is a little bit, but it is like security cam footage. It's so
Okay.
they get that Easter egg in there with it feeling more organic.
Okay.
Also, and
Fair.
I had this thought that I was like, because I like to think of weird things to say, right? Because I'm a weird guy. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm gonna definitely after the movie tell Sarah that uh, Princess Rosalind is more attractive than Princess Peach, and the movie ends and Logan goes, a YouTuber I watch has a big crush on Princess Rosalind. I'm like, well, she is hotter than Princess Peach. So
So I I yes, I think Rosalina is more attractive than Peach because the whole like one eye covered thing
yeah,
and just like the the mystique of a princess because I didn't grow up watching like Disney films, even though I'm a Disney adult. I
Yeah,
didn't grow up, oddly enough, still wearing the t-shirt. Um, I didn't grow up seeing that the same way, so I want a little more mystery in my interest in women.
yeah,
But I mean, Brie Larson does a good voice, so
yeah,
yeah. And then there's everybody's least favorite, which I think is Daisy, probably.
yeah. No, people. I think people like Daisy. I don't know.
The yellow one with like the blue brooch.
Yeah. All right, but we're not here to talk about Mario. I just wanted to update people. Also,
No.
I think this weekend I'll be seeing Project Hail Mary with Logan and Sarah. I'm
Nice.
finally. It's April. It's so last night when we went to see it, I'm like, this is only the second movie that came out in 2026 that I've seen so far, and it's April 1st, or it was April 1st. Um, and partly because we were so, this podcast, we're not doing a whole lot of live stuff, or
Yeah.
up to date stuff, and the Oscars, all that stuff came out last year. But I'm like, we're a third of the way through the year, and I've only seen two movies so far from this year. But we're also heading into the season where I will be at the movie theaters as much as I can be,
Yeah.
and yeah. So anyway, that's what I
I
have to say
think
about that.
I think for modern films we can work towards like live watches and something, but I mean we're not trying to we're not
Well, I
trying
feel like,
to
yeah.
get kicked out of theaters, you know.
I feel like those are like we could do bonus episodes on new, like I texted you because we watched for Black History Month we watched Sorry to Bother You. Well,
I was about to say, yeah, dude, you
Boots
forgot those
Riley's
films we watched?
Boots Riley's second movie is coming out in
Yes.
May,
We
and
talked
I'm
about that.
very
That would be
excited.
exciting, dude.
So
Yeah.
that will be like a bonus episode, I think. All
Hmm.
right, but
I think it'd be
let's
cool.
get right into our let's get into this week's movie, and we're kicking off Westerns Month.
Kicking off Westerns month with High Noon.
Yes,
The probably not the uh best spaghetti western because it isn't, but probably
right.
one of the most well-known or best westerns by many people's ratings. So we're starting off with an absolute rock star this month.
Yes, yeah. So I had never seen this one. I know that you have
Me either.
basically not seen anything this month, because you haven't been a westerns guy. But I have heard High Noon kind of has a it's kind of legendary, and it's one of
Yeah.
those like five or six westerns from the like heyday of westerns before it started getting
Hmm.
reinvented and reimagined. This is one of those like top five. Like there's like Stagecoach and The Searchers and The Man Who
Fistful of
Shot Liberty
Dollars.
Valance. Well, that's Fistful of Dollars is spaghetti.
Oh,
It's like,
okay, yeah, yeah.
yeah, but then you got that the search, the John Wayne era, the Man Who
Okay,
Shot
yeah.
Liberty Valance. This is like probably that like top. It's that top five like classics, right? And I think it's the only one of that group that I haven't seen or hadn't seen. Now I've seen it. But I heard a lot about it because this movie won Best Actor, and people talked very highly about this, and it, I don't want to like put the cart before the horse here, but it's a western. But yeah, I think that
You made
this
it worse
movie,
by describing the joke in normal, in absolute like top Mike character. You described the joke and
yeah. So anyway, let's talk about so our focus for this week's episode, and last month we did cinematography as an overall focus and then mini focuses. We may end up doing that. I kind of feel like we may end up doing that with the story and
yeah.
character of westerns. Um,
Hmm.
and I think that like this week we wanted to talk about archetypal characters. Um,
Which for this film is an excellent choice because it's a stress test for Western archetypes,
yeah,
and High Noon gives you hero, villain, bride, ex-lover, deputy, judge. town churchgoers and religious leaders, cowards even, and a
Yeah.
redeemer. So you've got like all of the film class in college archetypes that are there for you,
Yeah.
but at the same time it starts kind of like peeling them apart, sort of like wallpaper in a cheap hotel. So
Yeah.
it's got that feel of the archetypes, and you see them, and you can pick them out real easy because there's not a lot of like hiding them.
Right.
The work in this film made sure that you were keenly aware of your archetypes straight away,
Hmm.
and um Fred Zinnerman and the writer Carl Foreman both made sure that those stuck.
Yeah. Yep. It's yeah. I'm looking at what it won because it won 4 Academy Awards.
Oh wow, cool.
It won both the best original song, which was maybe my least favorite part of the movie, um, and then best score for
What
a comic.
the score, or the song,
The
the one that kept
song that
playing in the background?
well, the song, yeah, I didn't love the song.
It
At
repeats
the
like four. Oh God, I think it's like four or
it,
five times that I remember. Like,
it
there it
is
is,
funny.
there it is,
So
there it is.
I literally rewound the beginning of this movie like 3 times because one of the things that happens is like there is literally no like there is no like studio title. Usually even in a movie that has like minimal opening credits or a delay of opening credits for a cold open or anything like that, they usually have like the title card of like MGM or Paramount or
Yeah.
whatever. There is nothing. It just cuts to a field and a couple of cowboys, and then there was
Yeah.
a guy at high noon, and you're
Like
like,
it is so stereotypical. Like, I'm gonna think of that Western song that has the whoa, 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 like in the background, and that's exactly what you expected this to be.
yeah. And so like I was not excited going into this. Like I at that point, like I was like,
I
it took me a minute to
I
realize
wasn't either.
that was the actual introduction. I'm like, did I skip
Right.
something? And I was like, oh, this is not going to be good. And within 2.5 minutes, I was like, oh, I was wrong. And like, but the intro is a little like it's a little dated. That's the only part of this movie that I thought.
Dated from 52, dated or dated now?
I think it's dated now. Like I think that part doesn't translate as well. Like
Okay.
I could have easily had that intro. Think about so I don't know if you've already started watching next week's episode.
Yes.
Yes, I have too. Think about the introduction to that movie because that movie is
It's
heavily influenced on this.
yeah.
If you took the music out of the intro, I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? And basically
I
next week's intro is the intro to this without music. Um
yeah.
in a lot of ways. I mean
Okay.
there's some
Okay.
differences and it's obviously slower and longer, but like yeah, the gearing up bad guy essentially.
Right, right, right. And
And I
I
like
so do you want to give away what the movie is, or do you want to hold them off?
yeah, we could talk. So next week, I've only watched a little bit of it. I haven't finished yet, but we're
Yeah.
watching next week. We're going to be watching Once Upon a Time in the West, and it's
So,
there's a
well,
lot
because you said
of
movie, yeah, you said audio or like music. So, Ennio Morricone did the music for Once Upon, and the music for this one is Dmitri Timokin,
yeah,
and they are both. I think they're both Italians, which is interesting, being that High Noon is not a spaghetti western. No, Dimitri is Russian born, and obviously Ennio is Italian. So their styles are different enough, but you're right, there's some crossover between them. There really is. And Dimitri also did like It's a Wonderful Knife,
it's a
Life,
wonderful
Dial
knife.
M for
Oh
Murder.
my God, we're making that movie. It's a Wonderful Knife.
I like
It's
that.
about
Write
a
it down.
knife that inspires its owner to kill. and whoever, and when you
Strangers on a
best
Train,
than, yeah. All right.
and
So I
then
want,
so what was your biggest pre-production hit?
all right. So one of the things I thought was like immediate was that I liked about that intro. Again, I didn't like the music, but we start off with the bad guy and we see the threat.
Yeah.
And
Uh-huh.
then, and I think by introducing the threat initially and then showing the good guy, we're able to more immediately dive into the good guy's dilemma. And this movie did a great
Okay.
job. You dive from, we see the bad guy. We know that that the bad guy's round, getting a posse together. We don't know quite why we don't know what the conflict entirely is yet. And then we go into Will Kane, who Gary Cooper's character, Will Kane, is the good guy getting married. They do
Mm-hmm.
some really, like, I thought that the scripting did really well with
Mm-hmm.
immediately letting us know she's a Quaker. She's making him retire from being the marshal
Yeah.
because she doesn't like violence. We as a
Mm-hmm.
Quaker, they expand upon that later in the movie, but they like immediately hit us with like the stakes. I mean, I think we're less than 4 minutes into the movie, and we know Marshall waiting for the next
A lot
marshal to come
happens
into
in 4
town.
minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, waiting for the next marshal to come into town. He hasn't arrived yet,
Mm-hmm.
and he's getting out of the law enforcement business because his wife is a Quaker, and we know a bad guy's coming to town, presumably before, and then it
Yeah.
starts stacking up, and when we start stacking up the stakes, which is this guy has a personal vendetta against Will Kane, and
Mm-hmm.
and Will knows that like the town is going to have a 1 day gap essentially between him and the next marshal. And he's like, I can't allow them to have the gap. Now that I know this is coming, I have to like fix this
Yeah.
situation before I go. And you also, one of the things that the opening scene does, which is great too, is it shows us how beloved Will is in the town prior to a threat. So like
Yes,
these
and
people love
yeah,
him. And then as soon
they
as there's a
do,
threat,
and they're
sorry,
go.
as soon as there's a threat and he's trying to get together a group to deal with the threat and like, hey, like we need to protect, they're like, this isn't a threat to us. This is a threat because of you. And like, we paid you, like
They turn
you,
on him. Yeah, they almost turn on him, but it's in like a concern kind of way. Like, no, we don't want you hurt, but you're the reason it's coming, dummy.
yeah,
It's kind of both going at the same time. Or like, you're at fault for this, but we don't want you harmed.
which is
Is kind of how it felt.
yeah, you're at fault for this, for enforcing the law in the first place, like for
Yeah,
protecting us in the first place. Like
yeah.
that is kind of the essentially that we talked about it. I think recently with the like wanting to have your cake and eat it too. Like
Hmm.
I always say it backwards because Americans always say it backwards. It's wanting to eat your cake and have it too. It's a British thing. Um, but yeah, like they want the protection of the law enforcement, but not when the protection
Yes.
causes them any grievance. I mean, and I get it. It's there's a big threat, and and but there's what 4 or 5 guys coming into town, and he literally goes and talks to like individually. He talks to at least 7 or 8 guys. Then he
Hmm.
talks to the whole bar full of guys. Talks to the whole church full of guys. Like if they all got together, like this would be a no problem situation. And which I also thought
Yeah.
was a really interesting archetypal thing to be like, it's like you getting on to be the second guy or the third guy or the fourth guy is really hard to get someone to do. And so you have
Hmm.
one guy standing up against the world being like, we can win if we band together. This is not even a question if we band together. And
Yeah.
everybody else being like, I don't want to be the second guy to commit to this. Including like we see a guy who at one point is on board, and when nobody wants to be the third guy and he realizes he's the second guy out
Oh
of
yeah. Yeah.
two, he's like, I mean, come on, man.
Yeah,
And
he becomes a little more like weak in that because he can't stand on his own. like
Right.
commitment to defending the town, but at the same time, there's this interesting situation where actually, well, I mean, they end up fighting. They end up
Yeah.
in like a genuine fist fight. Coop, that would be Marshall, Will Kane, and who's Sam Fuller, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it
Yeah.
Sam Fuller? Is that guy you're thinking of?
I forget the oh, Sam
Harry
Fuller's the
Morgan's
guy.
character?
Sam Fuller's the guy who hides, and he tells his wife, "Tell him I'm
Oh,
at
sorry,
church."
yeah. Frank Miller?
Frank Miller's the bad guy. I don't know. I lost track of a lot of the side characters' names, if I'm being
I did
honest.
too.
I only know who Harry Morgan is because I love MASH. Um, and Frank Miller was like such a good like bad guy name, like just like bad cowboy name.
So Will Kane, he's the righteous lawman, and he's been kind of stripped of his glamour. The way
Mm-hmm.
Mike was just saying, like the town is kind of hanging this danger on his shoulders,
Yeah.
and he has to wear it like an albatross for the entire film.
Right.
In fact, even up until the final scene, he's wearing it, and
Yeah.
he's that hero archetype, but not in like that macho fantasy version that a lot of these westerns or a lot of people think that westerns would have.
Right.
And he spends most of his time in the film asking for help, getting rejected, and then looking kind of rattled about it. In fact, a lot of the pull-ins on a lot of the Western archetypes, the Western film archetypes that are in this are pull-ins on Cooper's face and him genuinely looking like frustrated or upset.
Yeah.
Actually, two things from this film made me remember watching Tick Tick Boom and The Conformist. So there's obviously the clock is a big part of this film because they keep waiting for
Noon.
high noon the whole film. And then also the revolver on the table that he like pushes away made me think of Not Conformist, A Special Day.
Yeah.
So that those in place make this film, make him more interesting in this film, and he is brave because he is afraid, not because he's like invincible or hero, right?
Right. Right. I agree. I also think that his bravery, it's a do the right thing situation. It's like,
Yeah.
this is not something I want to be doing on my wedding day. This is something I kind of promised my wife I wouldn't be doing anymore. But it is potentially it's gonna affect everybody here, and I need to be the one who stands up. And one of the things that I think doesn't click until later in the movie is that like he's been abandoned by everybody, but he hasn't been abandoned by everybody for the same reason. So and that was interesting to me too when we were getting in, is so like there's two camps with the like there's three camps. There's a bunch of people apparently who are loyal to Frank Miller.
Yep.
There are the people who think Will brought this on and like so Will has to deal with it. And then there's the people who are just scared. But then there is also and I didn't realize this until the last act, basically the last scene, which is that Grace Kelly's character, Grace Kelly plays his wife, is literally like by the time the movie's over, they've been married for like 4 hours or something.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Grace Kelly plays his wife. Amy Fowler Kane, and she is a completely different reason. She is not afraid of the repercussions for herself the way everybody else is. She's afraid for Will, and that comes into play because she's like trying to use her leverage to get him to walk away because she's afraid for him. She goes, she's like, I'm going to be on that train whether you are or not. I'm going to, do that. Eventually, she comes back, and she's the one who ends up backing him up. She, his wife, which I thought was really cool for the time, like not only do you have like nobody. I mean, I guess Lloyd Bridges backs up a little bit at one point.
Hmm.
There's like little bits and pieces, but of people kind of coming in because they kind of have to. But
Yeah.
Amy comes over and is like, "That's my husband," and like, "You're not going to shoot him in the back," and like, it's 5 against 1. So she like shoots one of the guys as he's about to shoot Will, and then she gets used kind of at that point as the damsel in distress. But like she does it because she
Yeah.
was a badass who came to do it, and we know it's against her personal belief system, not because of cowardice. Like that's the other thing is it's not because of cowardice, it's because of religious conviction, and because of like she mentions later on or at some point in the movie that she's watched her brother die by gun and her father die by gun,
Yeah.
and so this is a deeper question for her than like I just don't want to die like which everybody else is going through. So her convictions are as strong in some ways as his are,
Hmm.
and so like they are partnered well, and like that was a really important like we don't see that much romance in this movie, but what we see is this
No.
other kind of like partnership romance, which I feel like was really missing like up and like that's like not a way we think about it when we think about the 50s,
No.
but
When I
and
think of
or Amy,
westerns, I think of like Zorro
yeah,
and
yeah.
and that like kind of
But even romantic
like
movies from that
dashing
time,
character. Huh?
even romantic movies from that time, the woman, I mean, a little bit with screwball
Yep.
comedies, you might get like a strong woman. But like a lot of times
In the
it was,
50s? No.
I mean, the screwball comedies were going from the 30s
No, no,
on.
no, no, no. I mean, in the 50s, outside of what you just described, like
Oh,
we
yeah, yeah,
don't
yeah.
see this a lot. So this film was taking a chance, sort of, by having a strong woman. Actually, I'll be honest, two of
Too
them.
strong. Yeah.
So my favorite character in this film, and it's not because I find her attractive, my favorite character in this film is absolutely, oh
Helen
God,
Ramirez.
thank you. Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed her character because she stood up for herself even more than Grace Kelly did.
Yeah.
So I I
Well, Grace
I
Kelly
I
wasn't
like
standing
that.
up for herself. Grace Kelly
Sorry, she was
was
standing up for him.
the whole time was, yeah. And
Yeah.
I didn't disrespect, like I didn't feel like Helen was the same kind of coward that the men were. I thought she
No,
was
no, she
like,
isn't.
and she wasn't a damsel. She was like kind of this perfect like I'm not sticking around. This guy is probably not going to be happy with me personally. You know,
Hmm.
and yeah, I liked her a lot. She was definitely top three for me of like
Yeah.
the three, the guy, Will Kane, Amy, and Helen are great. I also thought it was really interesting how they played the whole situation with the hotel in a in during the code,
Hmm.
during the Hayes Code, because it's very clear based on what the hotel manager says to Amy about Will, that like he doesn't like him because it's no longer like he basically was running a brothel, but they
Hmm.
can't say he's running a brothel in 1952 in a movie. So
Right.
he's like my business, because otherwise why else would a sheriff affect a business, a hotel, and
For good or bad.
right, exactly,
Because he like the maitre d' of the hotel is almost, or the owner I should say, is almost like angry that the
yeah,
sheriff's getting married, because now he's not going to have him going in and out of Helen's room, basically.
right, yeah. So yeah, and it's interesting. It's interesting because I always and from what I just googled, uh, it was somewhat legal. So I don't know what
Yeah.
the exact. I think I have a hard time when it comes to the Wild West of like what was and what wasn't legal. Like like, and also like I'm sure to some extent it's like what is legal versus what is enforced, what is and maybe some of these things are federally illegal, or no, I guess they're not
Yeah.
federally illegal because it's legal in Nevada. Um,
True.
But like, yeah, I was like, when he said that, my thought was, well, obviously they're talking about prostitution, but
Hmm.
wouldn't a prostitution have been? I mean, like literally, it's in every cowboy movie, in every cowboy story.
True.
It's just it's just a matter of fact in most of them, like so. I thought it was a good way of telling us, but I did have that like, oh, I didn't really, unless maybe it was one of those things where it's like keeping it reputable and
Hmm.
like maybe the guys running the hotels or running the brothels didn't care what happened to the women, and maybe that cut down. That's very possible.
Yeah.
And maybe Will was like, no one's going to go in there and be committing crimes on the women or
Right.
beating up the women or whatever. Although I would
It
think
it
that
it,
like, anyway, go ahead.
it really felt like he set the law, and this brothel kind of like ran itself, I guess you could say, in a kind of like a self-policing sort of way, and the deputy maybe was a large part of that because
Yeah,
he wouldn't let folks get away with anything.
true. Yeah, yeah.
The structure of this film is brutally efficient. We move
Yes.
through things in a fantastic paced way. I'm not
Yeah.
rushed, but I
It
will
doesn't
admit,
lag.
me going into westerns, you'll see in my ratings, like I, I'm starting to understand what makes a good film, even if I don't like the style, or even if I don't like the genre. I can
Right.
completely say, nope, nope, this worked, this paced, this fit. Um, the repeated clock imagery, like I mentioned earlier, turns those archetypes into just like pressure cooker choices
Yeah.
that the characters have to make. And the editing and pacing make each like refusal of Will hurt. Like the audience, but also hurt the town. What's the town's name? I keep forgetting it.
I don't
It
remember
had a
if
name.
okay. Um, it doesn't say in the description. Um,
So,
yeah,
so the
you're right.
economy is the point. There's no fat, there's no side quests, and there's no like decorative nonsense like some
Right.
lesser filmmakers would include to try to either pad time or pad for like poorly developed characters, like writing wise.
Right.
And the
I
near
also
real time go ahead.
I was gonna say I also think like the B plots are, when we talked about the B plots, I forget which movie we did that with. Was it American Fiction? Um,
I think it was fiction, yeah.
yeah, the B plots hold up really. Like they keep the stakes growing. Like they're almost not even B plot. Like they're so subtle that you're
Yeah,
like, oh yeah, like that's a B plot technically. Like his relationship with Helen,
Helen,
and
right.
and
And
kind
and
of
okay,
this kind of like fight with the Lloyd Bridges character where he's like jealous that he didn't get the job, and he thinks that
yeah,
Will didn't recommend him or talk shit about him essentially for the job. Like there's all these little B plots that are kind of like so perfectly woven in that you're like, oh yeah, that technically is like not the main storyline, but it is building the
right.
stakes and the tension the whole time. It's
Hmm.
working towards that A plot. It's really, I mean, we said it won best screenplay. Is that what we said?
I
I'm
think that's
pretty
what it
sure
got. Yeah.
it deserved it. I mean, I don't know what it was up
Oh
against, but
yeah.
it was. Oh, it did not win best writing. It did win best
Oh,
editing.
writing and screenplay the same or no?
Yeah,
Okay.
they sometimes
Um.
change the wording of categories over
Oh,
the
okay.
years.
So I really think that near real time approach is what gave this like nice pace but tension the whole time. Like Tick Tick Boom kind of had that as well,
Yeah,
and it gives the moral drama real sharpness procedure wise, and it's not, someday danger's coming, or it's this looming dread, like when you have a normal villain. It's noon is coming. It's the title of the freaking film. Like y'all know this is going down. and I really think the cuts to the henchman waiting at the train station, if you don't really kind of notice what's going on, it's just like, oh, are these the bad guys?
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, they're not the bad guys. They're waiting for King bad guy.
Yeah.
So that tension adds throughout the whole time. And then obviously when bad guy gets there, now it's a different story. But yeah.
So
So
I'm
I really
looking.
think Frank Miller and I mean what it could have done better. Look, I will argue that the supporting townspeople are intentionally schematic, but the schematic is still important in that like you need that group that's going to push back on the decisions, but
Yeah.
then I would have liked like a couple of scenes with him interacting with someone besides like the town drunk. And the town drunk was in there obviously as not a comedy kind of character,
Yeah.
but sort of a sign of the times, right? But then also Frank Miller is more of a function than a character. I wanted
Yeah.
more of him too. Like I liked that the writing was there describing some of what's going on, but I could have had more. And if someone doesn't vibe with that stripped down style of film, which a lot of westerns can be, they may experience this this Frank Miller character as like just elegant and telling, but without enough development. If you
Yeah.
don't look too far into it, it can just look like delicate development without a lot of like heavy character arcs with him specifically. And
Yeah.
also, I did some reading online about the film, critique or negative critiques of it, and some viewers feel the women are still ultimately defined in relation to Kane, even if the film gives them more intelligence than the average Western era film or Western genre film did. And you mentioned that earlier.
I think that that's true, but I think that almost every single character in this movie is defined in relationship to Kane.
They are, but the
And
women specifically
yeah, I guess.
is something that's a critique of mine, and it looks like other people thought of it the same.
Yeah. As far as the like Frank Miller not being more developed, I think that Frank Miller's character is um kind of purposefully not, like we have his posse because that
Hmm.
is again archetypal of a western, is like this almost unfathomably like bad,
Yeah.
mysterious bad guy, like. And so I
Hmm.
think that like Frank Miller, and a good way of doing that is the posse, and like the structure of the story
Yeah.
helps us too, with the fact that like that he's getting out of jail and he's on the train and they're waiting for him, which I think
Hmm.
works really well to build this like, why is it taking till noon? Oh, because of this. And like they're
Hmm.
told like do not touch Kane until I get there, and like,
Yeah.
so I think in a lot of ways I agree with you. There could be some some pieces that maybe could have been fleshed out if it had been longer. Although I will say, because of the runtime, like Sarah had no interest in watching this movie, but she was sitting on the couch while I was watching it, and she was like, "I really liked that movie. It's kind of stuck with me." I'm like, "Yeah, this movie is way. If you're like, oh, it's a black and white 1952 cowboy movie, and I'm not into that.
Right.
You're like, eh." And then like this movie captures you, I think, in a way. Um,
It does. I'm hoping the other westerns do this for
yeah,
me because again, when you see my score, like you'll kind of it'll be obvious that this is not my shtick or my
yeah,
genre. You put me in front of sci-fi,
Yeah.
all day, but Westerns, I didn't grow up watching them. So I don't have an appreciation for them the same way, like, cigar smokers or black coffee people are like, oh, you have to like it, you know? Um,
Yeah.
I think we're good for editing. So what got good?
Well,
What didn't go well? Do you want what? I've given my stuff first. What are your hot takes for this?
I think that this, we talked about. I'm trying to think of which episode it was, a cinematography episode. Oh, I think maybe it
I've
was
got it in front of me.
Oppenheimer. It was Oppenheimer. We
Oppenheimer, yeah.
talked about how it was really hard to get closer up shots back in the 50s, and other than Stanley Kubrick, like most people weren't doing that. Now this movie is mostly mediums, and there's not a whole lot of close-ups. Now westerns are kind of more notorious for close-ups than a lot of other,
Yep.
but
That's one of the
what
things
they
I'm
do
learning.
one of the things that they do in this movie that is super effective, and they do it even in the medium shots, is the the focus is so strong, like the visual focus, like
Yeah.
the cinematography focus is so strong that we can see the work that Gary Cooper is doing in his eyes acting. Like in
Okay.
several places in this movie, it was like he's got that like, oh fuck, like look on his eyes, like
Oh yeah.
no one's coming to
Looming dread.
yeah, no one's coming to save me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so I actually think that was
And that
really
builds because he gets closer and closer after he gets turned down so many times by the townspeople, especially when he goes to the church or when he's at the bar.
yeah,
Like there are definite times where and of course the big crescendo to his dread is when he's getting his revolver
yeah,
and that boy comes in and says, "Hey, I want to fight with you." I'm 16. He's like, "No, you're not." But and he like sits down and he throws that stuff off the desk. Like that is that, like, it's gonna be me.
yeah,
I am the only one that's gonna handle this, and then it comes to absolute peak.
yeah,
And
yeah, absolutely.
also the cinematography stuff. Look, I understand you have A camera, B camera on this, but one of the westerns one of the westerns themes that I'm not looking forward to is the same kind of thing that I noticed when we watched Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah,
No. Yes, Rosemary's Baby is there are some environmental or on-scene sounds that are so punched through the mix, like sand under boots as they walk and pivot, or doors closing. Like, that is more because of the time and how sound was captured. But I
yeah,
also expect it is a not thematic, but it is a movie craft choice to
right,
push those sounds so tight, focused inside a scene. And the other thing is with the A and B camera, it felt like the camera quality on B was lesser.
yeah,
And it might just be the focus was softer, especially when the shots are pulled out or the
yeah,
subjects are farther away. But some of the B camera shots felt softer, and it was a little jarring to see this close of a face and wrinkles, hair, furrowed brows,
mhm.
eyes. Like you saw so much going on, and then they do a B camera shot and it'd be pulled way back, and everybody looks fuzzy, like there's Vaseline over it.
I
Ugh.
I agree. I think if you solve that problem, and then there was not enough contrast when they're outside, in like there was a couple
It was all
parts
very white. Yeah, yeah,
is
yeah,
very
yeah.
white. If you solve those two problems, I think this gets nominated for best cinematography. Which is
Okay. No,
it didn't,
I can see that.
there was some shots in here that are amazing. There was a lot of interesting work here. Also, to just so we're clear, back in 1952, there were two categories for cinematography. There was black and white and
Oh.
color. And so, like, when you
Oh,
think
okay.
about the fact there's that, then I think this, if you tweak those two pieces that we just talked about, it gets nominated. Because I
So
thought they also, like,
does
nothing
that
in that
work?
category is big and famous
Oh,
other
okay,
than Bad and the
okay.
Beautiful.
Does that do those choices of filming fall on directing, producing, or cinematography?
Realistically, those are a matter of the way the studios would pump out some of the stuff. So
So it's
Fred's,
more sign of times?
I think so.
Okay.
Because they would have the A camera, B camera doing stuff. Because you got Fred Zinnemann, Zinnemann.
Zinnemann.
He is in his filmography. He goes from, let's take a look at his IMDb
I'm
real
actually looking
quick.
at it now. You want popularity or time?
Time. I want you because the next movie, I'm pretty sure
So,
he wins the Oscar the very next year for From Here to
oh,
Eternity.
okay.
And this is those times. I mean, this is getting a little bit out of it. Like the late
And
30s
he
is
only did
really when you
one
say
film in between it.
he did a
High
movie in
Noon,
between.
Members of the Wedding, or Member of the Wedding, and then From Here to Eternity was the very next year.
Yeah, and so he was pumping out movies, and that's how they were
Yeah.
doing it. Like I'm sure you've heard, but in 1939, that's the year that Gone with the Wind comes out, and it's the year Wizard of Oz comes out. Both of those movies went through a couple directors, and both of those movies went through a couple of the same directors. So like they ended up like
Oh, okay.
because they were constantly shuffling people around because they were pumping movies out. It wasn't there was no
It was the golden age of Hollywood and the moneymaker that it was.
there
Yeah.
yeah even the massive productions were getting like you hear about like Apocalypse Now taking 25 months or and now we hear about like, oh, this spent 2 years in development to
Yeah.
be produced for 9 months, and then there was a year and a half of editing. None of that happens in the 1930s,
Okay.
40s, 50s, even up probably until the 60s. You're like, okay, this year we're making this. You go develop it, and the producer goes and develops it, hires the director, and they like jump on and they do it, and then they hand off the materials to the editing team, and they go move to the
Yeah.
next project. Um, and when you look
So
at that,
they
like,
were so they were making stuff in parallel back then, hardcore.
oh yeah, I don't
So
know what.
editors would be editing or cutting more than one film, is what you're kind of thinking.
Well, I also think that like editors are cutting one movie while the director's off doing another movie, and the director might be
Right.
like one day a week going in and checking on or checking the
Okay.
dailies from the edits from the last bit. Like this it was just a different structure essentially.
Okay. I really think that even though those are all like how it was done, my hot takes are still very like not production based because
Yeah,
I don't understand enough about how these films are made yet.
yeah,
Mine are all about like character or plot. So like uh Amy's final choice in the film is one of the great like archetypal rupture moments in studio era Hollywood, and that that's a big it's a big thing that makes her as an actress, but it's also a big part of how women were portrayed. I think westerns especially from the ones
hmm
that I've seen, and also on the women side of it, Helen may be the most emotionally literate person in the film, and I think that's why I was drawn to her character so much, because she was such a clandestine badass to not even care what's going on around her, but really protect
yeah,
herself first. But kind of like especially when Amy comes to her and kind of confides in her a little bit. One of the scenes that I like is when Amy says is when Helen says sit, and Amy says, "Oh, I best not." And then
yeah,
immediately Helen just goes, "What you want, bitch?" Like,
yeah,
like at first it was like, I know it's tense. We're gonna have a woman talk, but when Grace Kelly's character says, "I'm not sitting down," Helen goes, "What you want?" She immediately shifts like her personality. I like that.
yeah,
And the town. My big thing about like those B plot characters is the town and its town's people doesn't fail because it's evil. It fails because it's ordinary, and that's worse. Because it's
Yeah.
so vanilla beige, just bleh.
It's also, I
Sad
mean,
small town, you know.
there's a little bit of like that you can lead a horse to water kind of mentality
Yeah.
about the movie too, except that like ultimately, I mean, the thing is we know because he drops, I loved when he drops the badge in the dirt and just walks away with her
Yeah.
at the end. I loved it. And I was like, oh yeah, he did save them, but like the problem is that like assuming that the next marshal isn't as upstanding of a man as he is, like they're
Yeah.
gonna get into this shit again. This is
Oh yeah.
like and you're not familiar with the trope, but like there's so many movies westerns that are like a town that doesn't really have a protection system and bandits come
Yes.
in, and like that's a thing.
That theme is something that I've seen like
Bug's
in
Life.
films that try to pull in that Western ideal, right?
Yeah.
I've seen that take place. It's the helpless, defenseless townspeople
Yeah.
that need a hero, you know, to stop the big baddie.
Yeah.
And that doesn't exist because the hero's there, but he's retiring.
Yeah.
And there's that like
It's
looming dread that something bad's going to happen.
yeah. I mean, I can't remember if it was Mandalorian season 1 or season 2 where you've got him training the people to defend
Hmm.
themselves, and
Hmm.
then A Bug's Life, and like so these, they're those are westerns in their own way, right? But like pure westerns, like yeah, that's a theme, and so like the town in High Noon is going to go on to that, and then
Yeah.
but their cowardice is going to like be the get the best of them, assuming they don't get another Will Kane as sheriff, and if they get another
Which
Will
it's not
Kane
saying
and
they
they
won't, but it doesn't look
right,
promising.
but also like if you're like how many Will Kanes are there like that, like maybe up until the beginning of the movie Will Kane's an ordinary good guy sheriff, right, or
Yeah.
marshal.
Hmm.
After that, if you get somebody who's the same up until that point, and then it's like, oh, this guy's coming in and no one's going to help you, and you're going to face a posse by yourself, your average person, even I would imagine, is like, yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm going to ride out of town. And,
All right. Yeah, I'm a
like,
fucking
so like you might think you have another Will Kane as your next marshal, and you might be like really happy with him the whole time. But as soon as you
Yeah.
face that issue, you're gonna have your most like more than I would say more than 50% chance you're getting a guy who's gonna abandon you. Like if you're not gonna stand up
That's
for
true.
yourself, I'm not gonna stand up for you. That's a pretty
Yeah. Yeah.
obvious thing. Should we move on to Dénouement?
The French thing. So do we recommend it?
Absolutely.
Yes,
I
agreed.
really liked this
Why?
movie. Okay. If you're a
My
Western
why
guy,
might be different.
okay, if you're a Western person and you like old Westerns, I don't need to sell you on it. If you are
No.
not an old Westerns person, Alex kind of already sold it a little bit about the pacing is super strong. The characters, I mean, you understand what's going on within 3 minutes, and you are
Hmm.
going and going the whole time. There is no,
Yeah.
visually, it's not the most stunning because it is the black and white era, and like so some people that's like that might be boring to them, but like
Yeah.
I think that's why Sarah saw a black and white 1950s Western. I was like, eh. But then she was like hooked and she stopped looking at her phone, which is incredible when you think about the fact that Super Mario couldn't do that to her last night in 3D. Also, Super Mario was one of the best 3D experiences I've had. I bought the tickets on accident for 3D. I hate
Oh.
going to 3Ds. And the preview comes on and goes like, put on your glasses. I'm like, shit. I didn't know this was 3D.
Crap.
But High Noon is it's really well paced. The characters are really strong. You I mean, other than the very Hays Code friendly allusions to prostitution, there is nothing inappropriate for children.
No.
Well, a little bit of violence. Uh, but the violence is mostly cutaways too, right? Like, or like
That that's true.
but yeah, I think that this movie is it. If you put it on and you make it through the opening credit song or the opening song, you'll be hooked. And if you're not, then you have no soul. No, I'm just joking about that.
So I recommend it because it's short, it's tense, it's
Yeah.
thematically loaded without becoming a lecture like some of our
Mm-hmm.
episodes have sounded. Sorry, audience.
I
And
mean, that's
and it
kind of what we wanted,
takes
though, right?
it is. It takes some of the most familiar archetypes in American film and uses them
Oh yeah,
like little pops.
yeah.
And I like that. I could very much by the end of this month say westerns are cool. I don't see it happening, but at the same time I can become a better appreciator of these,
Yeah.
and
This this is the only western that is on the list that I would say is like a traditional western, though. Like
fair. Okay. Yeah, fair,
like
fair.
after next week's spaghetti western, which some people kind of would lump them together, even though like there's a fair amount of difference. After that, we get
Mhm.
into um, modern and neo-modern westerns, and I think that like it's going to be a different vibe.
Yeah,
So,
I can agree with that. Speaking of vibe, score.
all right. So for fun and watchability, I gave it an 8.
Okay.
It's I think, like I said, you get past that original the initial song, which that's like a personal thing. I'm just not like a big fan of like that like old slow Elvisy kind of style, which is like what I thought maybe it was Elvis at first because it sounded like, but it was that it's not that like fun upbeat. It's that like I'm telling
Yeah.
the ballad of High Noon.
Yeah,
And
and it oh my gosh, it actually kind of sounds like that. Yeah.
if you take that, if you can just push yourself through that, like I said, it's gonna be great. You're gonna be hooked, and that's why it's watchable. Like, and I think I could go watch this again today if I wanted. I mean, I can't because I rented it and it's already up. But like yeah,
Yeah.
I could go watch this again and if Logan was like I missed that one again, I would watch this.
Yeah. I for fun and watchability, I gave it a 5 because this is not fun for me. And it's not that it's a bad film, and my quality score kind of tells that, but it's because fun and watchability is obviously the of our two scores that's more subjective. Or wait, objective, which is
Qual
which.
I don't know. They're just different.
I think fun and watchability is the more personal one, and I think quality
Yeah.
is the more realistic one.
Yeah.
Like to a formula, right?
Yeah.
And fun and watchability is a 5 because for me, it's just movie. It's and that could be because archetypes bug me when it's not in a sci-fi film because I can smell them too easily. But that's also what can make a film something I can appreciate in the future because you can look at Star Wars and it's obvious it's a space soap opera, but is it really just a space western?
Yeah.
Maybe. You've got looming dread, you've got bad guys, good guys, archetype. Like
Yeah.
it's there, but
Yeah.
I always saw Star Wars as more of a as more of a like a mythology classics kind of thing and less about a specific type of film. I always saw it more like the Odyssey or more like a Greek or Roman tale than I did something that's westerns specific.
See, but
How
that's
about
what I
for
think.
quality?
That's what I think about with archetypes is
Yeah.
you could take this story and you could tell it in sci-fi. You could tell this story
Yeah.
in like, and that's where I think that like Star Wars, you could tell Star Wars as a pirate movie, and they would call it Pirates of the Caribbean because those are the exact same fucking movie. Um, Pirates 1 and Pirates 2 are the first two Star Wars movies. But like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's the hero's journey. It's this thing where you can mad lib it out to a different genre. A
Yeah.
lot of westerns are like that. That's why you see like Seven Samurai and the Magnificent Seven, I think, are basically the same movie. And when you see, like I mentioned, A Bug's Life is like directly the story of, I forget what the other one is. And same thing with, these movies are, they are so, that's the cool thing about archetypes is that you can pull them and tell a different version of the same story. And it's like, oh no,
Okay. Yeah.
beat wise, this is exactly the same thing, but it's in space or it's in, whereas if you look at something like, I mean, taking all of the nonfiction out of our catalog, like Sorry to Bother You doesn't work in any other. I don't think Sorry to Bother You works in any other way. I think that
Okay.
Maybe Birdman works in a different time, and maybe it works in like vaudeville, but like it doesn't work
Okay.
as a western. It doesn't work in any other category.
No, I get
Um,
that.
to some extent, Sinners, I think, like Sinners, and that's something we've gotten away from a lot in stories, is this like idea that like you can, I mean, I think animation does it a lot now. I think that like
Yeah. Yeah.
some of the like Marvel DC stuff could be, like do that, or Percy Jackson, or
Yes.
like genre fiction does it. Non-genre fiction doesn't do it as much. Now it's like, oh, you couldn't tell any Woody Allen movie couldn't be a different genre, right? Or
Okay.
any
Yeah. Yeah.
so that's what I think is a cool piece of it, is that like and West Side Story and Romeo and Juliet. I love West Side Story, and and I get that people, like I think Romeo and Juliet's a good story, and they're different in like they're different things to
True.
me.
True.
And Clueless, and is Clueless Emma, or is Clueless Sense and Set? I think I forget which one Clueless is, but like it's the same story but transposed into this other category, and I like that when they do that.
Hmm.
You and I have talked quite a bit about um, Groundhog Day.
Yep.
Groundhog Day works in a million different genres, in a million different ways. The premise. Now that's not necessarily a story. It's not necessarily the story structure as much as it is a premise that can be retold and stuff. But
Okay.
I love when you can do that with something.
Fair. Okay. Fair.
Okay.
And what did this film do for you when it came to quality?
I think the acting's amazing. I think the writing is incredible. Um, I agree with you about some of those cinematography things, and that's partly why I gave it an 8, not a 10, or a 9,
Okay.
is because I think that were some visual things that were lacking or inconsistent. But I think like it's this was nominated for Best Picture. It was nominated
Hmm.
also, when you see what it was nominated against. Is crazy that it lost to The Greatest Show on Earth, which is, have you seen Greatest Show on Earth? It is a travesty of a movie.
No. And I'm maybe kind of glad I didn't.
Some people, I think, have argued that it's the worst Best Picture ever. Um,
Oh wow. Ooh.
and 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 it's so I don't. I've seen I've seen 3 of the 5 nominees for Best Picture this year, which is The Quiet Man. I've seen, but I don't remember The Quiet Man that well. I remember liking it. I remember thinking like, oh, this is a pretty good John Wayne movie. Like John Wayne's pretty good in this movie.
Hmm.
Um, it was High Noon and Greatest Show on Earth, and then I have not seen Ivanhoe or that version of Moulin Rouge. Um, and like, those are, I don't want to disparage the ones I haven't seen. I don't know, but like High Noon is better than Greatest Show on Earth. I will say that outright because I've seen both of those, and I struggle to see how that movie won over this. Um, Also, like Greatest Show on Earth didn't win much else, like because it didn't win Best Director because it shouldn't have. It wasn't nominated for any of the acting roles. I don't think. It's just, yeah,
Okay, you
it's just
never
like
know.
it's it's not as bad as I'm making it sound, but if you watch it knowing that it's a Best Picture, you're like, what the fuck? Like if someone just put it on and you're like, I'm gonna
So
watch.
it's middling, but that's what makes it bad because it's middling
Yeah, it's kind of like
and
a
got best picture.
yeah. It's to give you an idea of what the story is from what I remember. It's been 5 or 6 years since I've seen it. Sarah and I watched a lot of Best Pictures for a podcast we were doing, and we got to about this was our second to last. This is the one that almost broke us, I think. Uh, it's essentially like a circus gets kind of stopped for a bit for like an Agatha Christie style like murder mystery, and like it works like in some of those ways, like although like I don't think you're even clear that it's like, I think it's not even strong enough in that what I just described it as to like, I think it's not to like halfway through or like the last bit that you're even realizing there was like the Agatha Christie style mystery. Like, there's a death, but you don't really know, like it's not that like, where were you, like you're, like there's just none of it comes together the same way. Anyway, this
Mm.
isn't a shit on that movie. This is a High Noon Praise podcast.
High Noon Praise podcast. So yeah, I gave it an 8 for quality as well
Yep.
because it is a good quality film, and it's an 8, not a 9, because those visual, like those AB camera things that I noticed that were just ugh.
Yeah.
I mean, I if I was to find out that they were two physically different pieces of equipment and that's why they look different, cool, but that's still down to producers and cinematographers to appropriately balance them,
Hmm.
and that still could have been done and wasn't. But at the
Right.
same time, it is a quality film. It is on the, I mean, we even mentioned it earlier, but ratings wise, I gave Tick Tick Boom the same. I gave Ratatouille the same. I also gave the same score to, there's another more recent one, Birdman, right? So there's an example of just like it's in those. So of course I'm going to recommend it because yes, it's good. Even
Right.
if I don't know, well, no, I was about to say even if you don't like westerns, but even if you don't like westerns, this still could be something that you could put on. Like you might not like black and white, films from this era, but Umberto D is fantastic. So,
Right.
and I had also never seen that.
Right. I
Is it
I will
trailer
say,
time?
no. Before we talk about trailer, I want to talk about one more thing that kind of came up as I'm looking at the Oscar stuff for that year. So Quiet Man, I'm sure you're not familiar with the Quiet
No.
Man, but the Quiet Man is also considered a classic. It's not a western, but it's John Wayne and John Ford who were they worked together a lot.
Okay, with those people, I would
Um,
have thought it was a western.
yeah, well, they did a lot of westerns, but it's interesting because we have this movie High Noon, which is largely, even though Will Kane is going to go do the necessary thing here, which includes violence, he is trying to hang up the shield and or the star and trying to live this peaceful pacifist life that his wife wants. The
Mm.
Quiet Man is about a boxer who is retired and refuses to fight. Um, and the whole town's trying to
Ah.
get him to fight. And so it's interesting that we have in 1952, in the 1953 Oscars, we have like two of, and arguably the two that are best remembered out of this crop of movies are these movies that have like reluctant violence or trying to back away from violence, and
Like you said,
like
that reluctant violence. I like that.
right. And we're what, 7 years out of the war, and it's just there's always like an interesting thread to when you look at historical, like, oh, there's two or three things here that fit this odd pattern given,
Hmm.
you've got John Wayne in a movie where he doesn't want to fight, and you've got, Gary Cooper's a cowboy who's like trying to, he's like, I'm gonna do what's gonna be done, but like everyone else doesn't want to participate, and he is like, I'm trying to not have to do this, like I'm trying to get out of this lifestyle.
Yeah.
And so like
Yeah.
that's a really interesting, like, just mini commentary on the time, and I'm curious, having not seen some of the other movies from that time, like I don't know what else is going on. I know that like these are times where the acting and the industry itself is starting to change because Brando
Yeah.
comes out a year earlier, and kind of introduces method acting to the world. And Brando is on like a four. He's on his second of a four nomination in a row hot streak. Um, and like and Brando is always an interesting figure when you're talking about masculinity and violence, because he has this weird balance between the two. And so
Hmm.
I just thought that was an interesting thing to like kind of step back and state.
Mm.
Also, Singing in the Rain came out that year, and I love Singing in the Rain. Best movie musical of
I
all
have
time.
seen that and I do like that. Yeah.
I We're going to be talking about Once Upon a Time in the West. It is the final Sergio Leone western. It's Sergio Leone isn't the only one, I don't think, that has like made spaghetti westerns, but he's the name when you think of spaghetti westerns, and he made four.
Okay.
This is his final one. It's the only one that's not part of the Fistful of Dollars trilogy. Um, and it is again, it's the only one I hadn't seen. I've seen the beginning a couple times, but I've never seen more than like the first 10 minutes. So we're going to talk about that next week, and then we're going to go into stuff that was made while we were alive, for the last two of
Yeah.
the
Right.
of the month. Yeah. But if you are interested in checking those out early, you can go on to our Patreon that we have linked to below for $26 a year. That's right, $26 for the year, where you can get all of our episodes as they come out early. When we do bonus episodes, we're going to try to give you like extra time with those
Hmm.
before we release them for the public. And we've done one so far, and I think we're at least planning a second, if not, trying to do one every once in a while. But yeah, if you go on there, that's a great way of supporting the show. You can also like and subscribe, a great way of supporting the show. Um,
It
you know,
is.
what you're doing is you're helping us just pay for the movies that we're, at this point, like, we're not making a huge profit. But yeah, liking and subscribing is great. Tell us what movies you want to see. Tell us what categories we should cover. It doesn't have to be a genre. It could be, like last month we did best cinematography, best picture winners.
Hmm.
We did Black History Month, which had some very different genres. Tell us what you want to see from us in the future, because we want to participate with you. We want to talk to
Yeah.
you about all of it. And then yeah, that's we want to keep going and making these episodes with you. So thank you for watching to the end.
Yep.
Like and subscribe, Alex.
Look, we are hopefully going to make me a Westerns fan by the end of this month. That was not the reason we picked
Nope.
this genre, but I mean, it could happen. My fives could become eights. So we hope to see you in future episodes, and maybe my ratings will change.